Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of HITSZN. Hopefully you enjoyed the week off last week, got some good rest. We are back at it. Today's episode is a unique episode. I want to preface this by saying that we're going to be talking about some traumatic events. We're going to be talking about some things that may be triggering to some of the viewers and listeners. Today's guest, we have someone that had firsthand experience in cheer at NCA 2025, and we want to talk about her experience going through and what that was like leading up to and past those events. So today's guest is an amazing human being. She is an ambassador for the HIT squad. She has been in cheer for quite some time, so I'd like to welcome to HITSZN, Camryn.
Hi, everybody.
Hey, Camryn. So, NCA, it's a hot topic.
Yeah.
Everybody's been talking about it. Let's dive in. So I remember getting the text message. I was actually test driving a Cybertruck. So any of you who like Cybertrucks or don't, I don't care. I was test driving a Cybertruck and Jessica texted me and she said, you need to call all your ambassadors right now. And my heart just went to my stomach and I was like, what's happening? And she said, there's an incident happening at NCA. So let's talk about NCA, but before we get into like the incident and what happened or what didn't happen, guide us up into that, right? So let's talk about NCA. What is NCA like?
Well, that being my first NCA, I kind of like didn't really know what to expect. I got in on Thursday and kind of just like decompressed. I was like, okay, I'm gonna just get ready to perform tomorrow. Like, no worries. I get to Friday and everyone's like, oh my gosh, I'm so excited. Like, this is crazy. I'm like, I mean, it's just a competition. Like,
was it just as big? Like, how would you compare it for someone who's never been to NCA? Is it cheer sport size? Is it Spirit of Hope? Is it nothing in between?
I would say it's closer to cheer sport size if you're in any of the halls aside from the arena. The
Okay.
arena I would compare to the main stage at majors.
Oh, wow. Okay, so there's the arena, and then there's different halls.
There's hall A through E.
Holy smokes.
Yeah.
Okay, so you get in, you drove, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, how was that drive?
It was good. It was about 14 and a half hours. We left on Wednesday morning at like 4 a.m. and we got in on Thursday night around like 3 p.m.
So did you drive straight through?
No.
Yeah, you stopped.
Yeah, we stopped in Mississippi, I think.
Okay.
And we took the night off. We were like, I can't drive anymore. There's just no way.
That's a lot. I mean, flights are so darn expensive nowadays. And I'm sure with Dallas, like nobody wants to fly to like DFW anyway, but on a good day, never mind NCA.
Right.
So you drove all the way through. Were you nervous? Were you excited to go to NCA? What were your thoughts?
I think part of me was nervous because I hear it's just such a big competition.
Yeah.
But I was really just like, okay, this should be exciting. Like, it's a city I've never been to before. I've never competed in it. And with a gym I've never been with before. So it was all just like all these new experiences all at once. I thought it was going to be fun.
So tell everybody what team you're on.
So I'm on Cheer Athletics Nightcats. We're an international level 2 team. So
International L2. Gotta love it.
Oh, yeah.
That international category is fun.
All the chaos.
So you get in, you get settled. Where'd you stay? Did you stay close by to the arena or?
We were probably like 10, 15 minutes away. We were over at the Sheridan. So we're kind of like in downtown and it's right on the outside.
So when you get there, is there just cheerleaders literally everywhere?
Everywhere. The Ubers, the lifts, airport drop-offs, everybody's at the front of the Sheridan and it's just glittery cheer bags everywhere.
Was it as crazy as like, I call it like intake day for cheer sport? Was it like that? Just cheerleaders everywhere?
Yeah.
So now you had to compete Friday, correct? Yeah. So what time did you compete Friday?
I think we competed around 7:15. So
at night?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we had to be there by, I think, 4 because you obviously get the pictures on the stairs. That was like the main thing that everyone was like, we have to get our stair picture. I'm like, is it really that big of a deal? Like, they're just stairs.
Yeah.
And we had to be there 2.5 hours early to make sure we had an hour to wait in line for our stair pictures. Me and my mom and my friend were standing in line for 2 hours just for the stairs.
2 hours for the picture on the stairs?
Mm-hmm. We got there at 2:50 on Friday and waited in line and then got to our meet time. And we still had just gotten up to the front of the line.
Oh my goodness. That's bananas. Yeah. I mean, I knew that was important, but I didn't know it was that important.
I didn't think it was either.
Goodness gracious. Okay, so you get in, you check in. Now, where did you compete? In the arena?
No. So the arena is mostly for all of level 6. And it was supposed to be for level 7 this year, but they moved level 7 to any arena except for the main arena.
Really? So they really just kind of focused level 6 teams in the arena?
J6 through senior 6.
That's kind of a bummer. Like, it just kind of puts more emphasis on the world's teams that they just continue to get this platform to be able to work through or work on and have the big stages.
Yeah.
That's a bummer. I would have put all like the mini teams and all, you know what I mean? Give
That'd
them
be
the
so
opportunity.
exciting.
Yeah. Okay, so you go back in warm-ups. What was warm-ups like?
It's so many people. So you have there's curtains lining the walls of telling you this is for floor A through I think like F or G. And you get 3 floors. You're 8 minutes per floor.
Yep.
And then you get 4 minutes at the end to just like wait.
Yeah.
Or if you need anything else, you can go to another floor that's not being used.
Yeah.
You're in there for like an hour.
Yeah, that was Cheersport was crazy this year. You weren't at Cheersport this year,
No, I
right?
wasn't.
Yeah. So Cheersport, you have all the halls and all of the warm-ups are back there and it's just mad chaos. There's so many people. And then you go to Encore where I was during the weekend and there were periods of time where there was no one on the mats. It was kind of funny. I like looked around. I'm like, where is everybody? Oh, they're at NCA. There was like nobody at Encore, but yeah, it was cool. Okay, so you're in warm-ups. Are you getting nervous at this point?
Yeah. So actually Friday night when we were in warm-ups, we had one of our main tumblers break her tibia doing a fly spring. Just we're warming up on the tumble mat and all of a sudden we just see her run to the other floor and like she's gone. I'm like, where'd you go? Like I just kind of went and I started my tumbling and because we're going in groups.
Yeah.
And then I get done and I look over and she's distraught on the floor, like just insane. She's in tears. The athletic trainers are all around her, our coaches. I'm like, what did I miss? Like, I just wasn't paying attention. I think I was so into like counting for them to tumble. I didn't see her run off the floor behind me.
Isn't that crazy how like a lot of people don't get to see backstage and I've been fortunate this year to see backstage at a lot of venues and it is eye-opening.
Yeah.
Like there is so much that goes on. It reminds me of that cliche picture of like the iceberg below with the mountain above or whatever, as cliche as it sounds. It really reminds me of that because so much goes on out there and you could have a terrible warm-up. You could be getting chastised by your coach and teammates and then you're on stage and it's
just sunshine and rainbows all
or
along.
you could have a terrible warm-up and just go and kill it on the floor. And it's like, where did this team come from? Okay, so then you're next up. You're on deck.
Yeah. So we got our extra 2 minutes in warm-ups to kind of revamp the formations, but we got on the floor. We did really, really well up until pyramid. And we get to pyramid and something felt kind of off going into pyramid. I don't know if it was just the vibes or because Taylor, the girl who broke her leg, she front spotted one of the groups that I brace. And so you kind of have that feeling like she's not there. Like, is this going to really go well?
Sure.
And our flyer, who is one of the trick flyers, she was just terrified. She was like, this isn't going to go well. I'm scared. And I was like, okay. I was kind of preparing myself that something might happen. But we went and she gets up to this prep and she kind of wobbles. And I was like, okay, that's fine. A wobble's fine. And then my flyer, I'm like, oh no, we're fine. You can tell she gets a little scared, and we did everything we could to keep her in the air, and she stayed. We were in the air the whole time, and
Just wasn't pretty.
Yeah, it was up. I don't know where, but
that's an interesting thing, right? So obviously Zoe's a flyer, and something that we always try to talk to her about is being comfortable. There's that trust level, right? That whole stunt group has a trust level, but there are times where audibles have to get pulled. In your situation, you're on arguably one of the biggest stages in the country, and you've got an audible. You weren't prepared for this, but the flyers have got to get a better job of being able to work around those. But that trust level is so tight knit with those stunt groups that when something is just a minor thing is out or off or shaken, it gets them. I know Zoe gets like that too. So you get off the mat. It's like, oh, there's NCA day one. So then, what'd you do after that?
Honestly, I think a lot of us, we all just went back to our hotels. We got dinner, we went home, and then our coaches don't send us the scores like personally because they did one time and we were all like, oh my God, like, and we all studied it like we were mathematicians and we were like doing all the 0.2, what if we do this better by 0.3? Like we were all just texting in the group chat like, we're going to do this better. And
doing the multiplication through the raw scores. And
And we have a couple of us that have been cheering for so long. We just know the score sheet. So they're like, hey, you know the score sheet. Just do your math, like, and tell us what it's going to be if we fix it. I'm like, okay.
Okay, sure.
I think I know.
Yeah.
And so we don't get it from our coaches anymore. Of course, I'm nosy. I go on varsity and I'm like, varsity scores. I look it up. I'm like, okay. it's kind of crazy. But then I see the score of the other team and I'm like, okay, that's fine. Like they did really well. Like
Sure.
they're amazing. Like they're from MAC. They're so good.
Yeah.
I think all of the MAC teams are just amazing.
Yeah.
And so we get back and they send a text in our group chat. Hey, this is our score. I'm like, I wasn't going to say anything. I assumed I was the only person who looked. So we're just looking at our score. We're talking about it. Our coaches message us, hey, we had a really great day one. Like with everything that happened in warm-ups, we did great.
Yeah.
And that was basically all we did. We just kind of chilled in the hotel room, talked to some of our friends that had come in and from other teams and just kind of relaxed the rest of the night.
And that's nice because you guys get to compete Friday night.
Yeah.
So then your day 2 would have been Saturday, right?
Sunday.
No, Sunday. So day 1 is Friday. You would have Saturday off, and then you'd have day 2 would be on Sunday. So you weren't prepared to compete on Sunday.
No.
Okay. So Friday, wake up. You have no really need to be at the arena, do you?
No.
I mean, did you guys have practice?
We did.
Okay. So you get up and you are like, let's soak this in, go to the arena. All right. So guide me through that.
So we got up on Saturday and we're like, oh, we're going to go to this really awesome breakfast place called Breadwinners. It's amazing. They have so much food. It's
Really?
great. Yeah. And so we're like, okay, we're going to eat breakfast. We're going to go to the arena and just watch. So many world teams were going in the morning that were great. So we sat there. Our practice was from 12:30 to 1:30. So we were in the arena for about probably an hour. We were there until like 11:30ish, and we went to our meet spot, and we're meeting up, and like athletes are trickling in, just coming from, oh, I was at breakfast, I was here. So we go and we meet our team, and our coaches are like, hey, we're gonna take you to the practice room for all the CA teams. So we were just in yesterday to practice before warmups, and we go in there, and our parents are like, hey, we want to see where the team room is, just because we want to know where to pick our kids up after practice.
Yeah, for sure. Now, is this for all CA teams across the country or just CA Charlotte?
So I think it was CA Charlotte, Pittsburgh, and Denver. I think it was like a few to one room
Sure.
and then a couple more to another room.
Gotcha.
And our parents were like, we just want to see where it's at. So they're waiting outside.
Yeah.
So that was basically up until that point, our parents were like following us just because they were like, we need to know where to pick you up after practice.
Oh,
like,
100%. Yeah. Now, how long was your practice?
it was an hour.
Hour. Okay.
We only got 20 minutes into it, I think.
Yeah.
And that was pretty much where everything else happened. We were doing our second stunt. We're like, okay, we need to work on pyramid today. That's all we need to work on.
Yeah.
We were really there to look at score sheets and do pyramids. So we go to start our pyramid. We set our flyers down to talk about the corrections. And all of a sudden, it's just chaos.
Yeah. So let's take that down and just break it down.
Yeah.
So a normal day turned not very normal really quickly.
Yeah.
So you're in practice, you're working on pyramid. What are you hearing? What are you smelling? What are you seeing? Like what was the first indicator that something was wrong?
So honestly, we had no idea that anything was going on outside. Those rooms are honestly insanely soundproof.
Like outside, when you say outside, do you mean for the viewers, just to kind of paint this picture, outside of like, and I'm thinking that your practice space is like just a regular conference room, like a team room.
Looks like the cheer sport team rooms or Spirit of Hope team rooms, just
Gotcha.
the big square rooms.
And then you just got a floor in there of some sort?
Yeah,
Okay,
we just
cool.
have 3 like long panels.
Gotcha. Okay.
So when I say outside, I mean like the hallway that's right outside
Sure.
of the rooms.
Okay.
So we're just like, we can't hear anything. We only hear our coaches and our music play on the speaker, and all of a sudden just screaming, and the doors are bursting open. And it's I see my mom first, and I'm like, what are you doing? Like, we're in the middle of practice. Why are you burging in here? Like, our coaches were kind of like, what are you coming in here for? That's crazy for you to just assume we're not doing anything.
Yeah.
And everyone's just like, get on the ground, like, get down. And we're like, what is going on? Like, I know some of our younger girls, they just immediately started crying because it's scary. Like, everyone runs in telling you to like lay down. We're like, why are you screaming at us?
Yeah.
And my mind obviously goes worst of worst. Like, I've always been like that. If I hear something goes wrong, I'm like, oh, this is going to be terrible. Like, I was preparing for it as soon as I heard them screaming. And when they came in, I was just like, okay,
Here we go.
like, this is going to be a long time. And I know I'm going to be sitting here for a while. So I kind of just sat there. I found some people who I knew would be kind of scared. I found some of our younger girls. I just sat there. I was like, it's fine. Like, we're all good. So we have some silence for like probably 20 to 35 minutes.
Silence.
Just dead silence. Like, you can hear some crying in our room, but other than like we had a veteran in our room. I don't know if he was a team parent from Pittsburgh, because we were sharing a room with half of a Pittsburgh team. We had a couple stunt groups in there, and this dad is in there. He's a veteran, and he's like on the phone with the police. So he's like just listening to the scanner. He's talking to the police. He's calling them. He's like, I have this many heads in our room. And that's the only talking you hear is him. And then after that first 35 minutes, you have just screaming out of nowhere.
Like screaming from the outside?
Yeah. Just random. It was so quiet and you just hear people screaming. You start banging on the door. We're like, please don't like, we have our mats all the way rolled up, like the rolling panel mats. Yeah. They're blocking the door. 2 dads' belts are tying the door shut. And we have people banging at our door. Let us in, let us in. And it was 2 moms and 2 daughters that were trying to get in. They're like, we don't know where to go. We were stuck in the bathroom for the first half of it. They were just like, we finally found a time to run. And they came to our room. We got them in. And it was just terrifying. We were like, why? We don't know who they are. Like, how are we supposed to let them in?
Right.
But then you hear them, please, I'm with my daughter. It's like, it's heartbreaking. We're like, we have to let them in. Like, we can't let them out there.
So did the dads that came in, did they just like kind of go to work and like they started rolling mats up? And
so it was 2 dads and then 3 coaches or 4 coaches. So our 2 coaches plus 2 of the Pittsburgh coaches, and they're just like immediately rolling the mats up. They're holding their entire body weight against the doors because they're pull open doors. So they're pulling them, just trying to keep them shut. And we have a security guard come to the door. He's like, he just announces who he is and he's locking the door. And then all of a sudden we can push the door open. He did not lock the door.
Oh,
it was, my heart dropped because when he opened the door and I saw him, he was locking it from the inside and then from the outside. So it really couldn't open.
Sure.
And I'm like, okay, I see the security guard. So my heart, like, I'm fine.
Yeah.
Like, he's not someone bad. He's here to help us. And then 10 minutes later, I see the door move open. I'm like, oh my God, like this.
It didn't lock.
This is still open. Like, this is completely open to everyone who's in this building. They can just open the door if they wanted to.
Was that the only way in, only way out of that room?
No. So there's a back way that connected to another team room that wasn't being used. So those doors were shut and locked. Like, no one was using them.
Cool.
So you couldn't really go anywhere, but you could go to the next room. However, that door was locked, the connecting room.
Yeah.
We didn't know that. So when our coaches were trying to find stuff to block the door, there was another closet. It had like desks and like tape, and they were just like getting as much stuff in front of the doors as they possibly could. They put a desk in front of the door that was locked because they didn't trust that it was actually locked. After we just witnessed the security guard say, I'm locking the door, and it busts open. So we're just like, we're waiting and we're like, everything's unlocked right now. Like, there's nothing besides the walls keeping us from the outside right now.
Now, what floor are you on?
The first floor.
And that's where the arenas are, or the rooms are. So
that's where the halls are.
You're level with all the halls.
Yeah.
Is there any above?
I think the arena is above all the other halls. I know you go up a couple escalators to go.
Yeah.
But that's the only arena that's above the base floor.
So 30 minutes probably felt like a lifetime. Mm-hmm. So did anybody else come? Like, how were the coaches? Like, were there words of affirmation? Were they just trying to keep everybody calm? Like, how did that look?
They were honestly a lot more calm than I could have been as a coach. I think I would have been like screaming my head off like a baby. I was like, I don't understand like how like my coach G, he's amazing. He was just like, we're fine. Like, nothing's going on. Like, we're all safe in this room. We're all together. Like, we're all holding hands. We're connected. We're fine. Like, nothing's going to get through us.
Yep.
We have chairs in front of us. Our moms are all sitting on chairs, like protecting the kids. Like, it's one mom per 2 kids. And the coaches are all coming around, like telling everyone, like, you're fine. Look for your stunt group to make sure no one's out. Like, cause we were all together, but we know some people go to the bathroom sometimes. And we're like, please tell me none of us are like out of this room. It's like, we all find our stunt groups, and our coaches they're just so calm about it. They were great. And I was like, I really appreciated that in the moment because I was not able to be calm for myself, let alone anybody else.
Yeah. So time goes by, like you said, like 30, 35 minutes. Mm-hmm. What happens next? Like, do you still keep hearing the screaming from outside? Or is it in pockets, or has things started to die down? So
after that little like burst of screams and we let the people in, it was quiet again.
And you had no idea what was going on at this point? You had no information?
No. All we knew was that our parents ran in and said, shots fired, get down.
Oh.
We didn't know what that meant. We didn't know outside, in here, in town. Like,
sure.
We just knew that they were running, and they were running because of something.
Yep.
But we didn't hear a parent say shots fired until we were already laying down in the corner. Like, they said, get down. And then this last mom comes in, shots fired, please get down, get down. And we're just like, is that really what you just said? Like, are you serious? And it was just like, after that, we had the 2 moms come in with their daughters. It was silence for a really long time. And I think we ended up being in there for around an hour and a half. Mm-hmm. And we actually just found out yesterday at practice, we were the last room to be evacuated out of the entire building. Only because our coach's mom got a message in the team mom band from varsity saying the whole building's been evacuated. And she goes, I don't see my kid. My kid has her whole team in that building still.
Oh my gosh. So who comes and lets you know that you're going to be evacuated or that you're evacuating?
We had a guy from the Dallas PD come to the door that we said was locked and had the desk in front of it. And we're just like, we see someone open the door and we're like, okay, are we supposed to get up? Like, we don't know who he is.
Get him.
Like, are we supposed to like look away? Like, we don't know what's going on. And he's like, okay, we're going to get you out. Like, we're going to walk quickly and we're just going to go straight out the doors and right out to the outside. And so we're going outside and we're being escorted by like 4 police and they're all like just straight face. I'm like, I don't know what's going on. Like, I want someone to be explaining this to me.
And your mom's still with you at this point.
So I think pretty much all of our team minus 3 of our girls had their moms. And we were surrounding the ones who didn't have their moms because it was terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, to have my mom be the first one to run in was just like, I was like, okay, whatever is happening has to be good or in control because she's close enough.
Yep.
She wasn't like in another arena or watching. And that's where some of our moms were. And it was so sad to see them like, I don't know where my mom is. Like, what's going on? It was terrifying.
It's where you have to put all your full trust. So they escort you outside are you seeing all these other teams and stuff outside? Or
So there was like no one around us when we were walking outside. It was our team and the coaches that were in the room and then the other little half team from Pittsburgh. And we start walking slower because we're outside. They told us that we're safe outside. And then we get told again, you need to rush, run to the parking lot. And we're like, why? Like, we don't hear anything. There's no sounds going on. There's no shots. There's no yelling and screaming. We get out to the parking lot and we have an officer come by talking to someone. And he's like, there was a bomb threat. We had a total of 2 or 3 bomb threats directly after that happened. We were like, can we have one thing happen at a time? Like, we just couldn't process anything.
Yeah. That's wild. So I can't even imagine, especially some of the stories that I've read about like people losing their kids, kids losing their teammates, like periods of time of not knowing what's going on. And I think this is about the time that I think it was just before you guys got evacuated was the time that I was texting with you and just trying to figure out what the heck was going on because, internet is like the game of telephone, right? Like you could say the dog was brown and then it turns into, a white elephant by the time at the end of the thing. So I guess the biggest question is I've got a couple hard questions, I guess. Did you hear any shots? Did you hear any?
So personally, I didn't. I don't know about anyone else in the room, but with our music playing and our coaches talking, it was kind of just like, oh, I'm focused on my coaches. So I wasn't thinking about them.
Sure.
Now, if I would have been focusing on the sounds outside of the room, I may have heard them.
Yeah.
But I know all of our parents, they were like, we heard, like, because we were asking them like, what just happened? They're like, oh, we heard this, we heard that. And I'm like, it's hard to say, oh, I heard this when I wasn't focusing on the outside sounds.
Yeah.
I was just, oh, my coaches are speaking. So I'm like, I'm going to pay attention. So I don't know that I heard it the initial, like when it happened, but going back and looking at the videos from Hall D, which is where we performed the night before, Hall C, D, and E, there is, in the videos of whatever teams were performing at that time, there are 4 clear, like you just know that that's the sound that, since you know what happened, you're like, that's the right sound.
Yeah, it's interesting. I know there's a couple different theories about what's happened, that there was gunshots, that there wasn't gunshots, that no, those weren't gunshots, those were poles falling down. I can't even say that with a straight face because it just seems so far-fetched and ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I just can't even imagine because, I mean, think about how many cheer comps you've been to. I've been like, what? That's crazy to think about, like at a cheer comp. That's crazy to think about. But then when you really start to kind of deep dive into it, you're like, wow, like there's a huge presence that could be happening. I mean, there's not really a lot of security, safety, all that stuff that's kind of in between.
Yeah.
And we're all just kind of chilling with our sparkly bows and sparkly bags and eating Dippin' Dots and pretzels that are overpriced. It's like, all this stuff is going on. So Okay, so you're outside. They're telling you to go to the parking lot. Now you're at the parking lot. Are they giving you any instruction of what you have to do next? Or now the world is your oyster. You can go do what you want to do.
So it was pretty much just, if you know where your people are, go with them. I know a little over half, actually, I think it was majority of our team went across the street with our team mom. We didn't know where they went. I was with my mom and the people we were staying with, so my teammate and her mom. And we're standing there and we're like, I wasn't watching where they were going because I was just looking at my mom. I'm like, I don't know where to go. Like, just lead me anywhere that's going to be away from this building.
Yeah.
We get a message in our band. I have all the girls. I'm like, there's still two of us. Like, luckily we were with our moms, but she's like, I have all the girls. If you want to meet your kid, like, we're on this street, we're over here. And basically it was everyone who was in the building is now in this parking lot or at this point miles away. Like, there are people who ran so far and we're like, we just went to the parking lot. We don't know where else to go.
Yeah, and I saw people were like hopping in random people's cars and just having them drive them out.
On the interstate. They were jumping onto the interstate, finding people to let them in.
And like, these are things that you are seeing.
Yeah.
That's bananas. Like, it almost feels like apocalyptic almost.
Yeah.
Like, how hard is that to believe? So do you finally get back to your hotel?
So about after, I think, 30 minutes in the parking lot, just trying to figure out what to do next. Like, the girl I was staying with, her mom lost her bag inside. Like, she set her purse down and all of a sudden she was just running. Like, and so we were trying to wait to see if they would let her go back in. So we stood there for probably 30 to 45 minutes and they were like, look, you can't get back in until at least 7 p.m. We have to investigate. We have to do this. And we'll have an allotted time for you to come back. So we walked to our hotel because Ubers are just full. Everyone's calling them. We're just like, it's 20 minutes. We need to decompress anyway.
Sure.
So we walked the 25 minutes back to the hotel and we get inside and we sit down in our hotel room and it's just like, you can't even relax. Like, your whole body is just, you usually when you sit down, you're like, oh, that's nice. I'm sitting down, I'm comfortable. And I sit down and I'm like, I don't want to move. Like, if I go anywhere, I'm terrified.
So had you started processing that you had to compete in a couple days again? Like, had you started thinking about that yet?
So after a couple hours sitting in the hotel room, we were like, okay, well, we just had practice. Like, we haven't really heard anything from our gym. We hadn't gotten like any information. We were like, okay, they're all trying to like figure out what just happened, like get everybody together. Like, we just wanted our gym to be together.
Sure.
We weren't even worried about competing. And then it got later into the night and we're like, okay, we're all accounted for, which is great.
Yeah.
We don't know what's next. So we're just going to bed preparing for, I guess I'll have to wake up and like meet at whatever the meet time was originally. And with NCA, it's so chaotic because you don't get your second day schedule until like day one. Like Friday, we just had gotten our Sunday schedule, I think like Thursday.
Oh my goodness.
So we had just found out our meet time like that week. So we're like, okay, we're going to get up and meet at our meet time. And I think in like 11 p.m. or midnight, we get a message, meet time is an hour later, performance time is an hour later, and we'll be in warm-ups by 2:45 or in awards by 2:45. Like, okay, so we are competing. And I think what was going through my head was just like, please tell me we're not going to the pre-warm-ups in the same room that we were just in. Like, sure. I think that was just my biggest fear, was going back into the room I was just stuck in for 2 hours. Like, and they're like, hey, we're going to this meet spot, and we walk, and all of a sudden we're going to this room, and I'm like, okay. So I'm like, I can't do anything about it because this is the room that we have. And I'm not like ungrateful for the room. I'm just like, I don't want to be in here.
Yeah,
we opened the doors.
Anybody did, yeah.
Yeah. It was so heavy.
Yeah.
They opened the doors and everything. It was so hard to do anything in there.
Was it just that room? I'm assuming that room was assigned to you guys for the whole weekend. So it's not like anybody could be like switching stuff up last minute probably, right? Yeah. So had the coaches, now that they had everybody together, was there any sort of formal talking or asking any questions, or were you just having your sights set on competing? So
for Sunday, we really just had our mindset on competing. We walked into the room, we ran laps around the room, we stretched, and we warmed up our stunts. And it was, hey, let's focus on competing and let's do it. Like we walked to warm-ups, and it was nothing after that until after we competed.
Were you nervous walking to warm-ups?
Yeah. Being in such a big place and just like everyone around you, you're just constantly, your head's on a swivel.
Yeah, and you're probably so hyper vigilant and like hypersensitive to sounds and smells and feelings. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Did anybody say, no, I don't want to compete, or that? Not
out loud. I know we had a couple girls who were like, oh, I'm really scared. we don't know. I don't know if it was like a scared to compete or scared to be here feeling. I know personally, I was scared to just be in the building.
Right.
Like walking in the door of just the convention center, I was like, okay, I'm just going to have to like accept this and I'm just going to have to do it. And we had a couple girls, they were just like, oh, like it's fine. Like they hadn't really processed what happened.
Yeah.
So it was more just like we're competing, we go on stage, we get off stage, and we're going back to the hotel and waiting for warm-ups or waiting for awards, sorry.
Yeah. I bet you got back to your hotel as fast as you probably possibly could, huh?
Yeah.
Was there some sort of a relief after you guys competed and got off a stage that like, okay, that is over. We are done here.
Yeah.
I just need to come back for awards and we are done.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a lot. So up until this point though, where nobody's been like really chatting or talking or anything like that. It's just status quo or just competing.
It's just only talking about the performance. No one's talking about anything that's happened in the last 15, 24 hours, whatever it had been. We're just, oh, are you ready for pyramid? Like, get your grips, check. Like, we're just encouraging each other for the performance. No one is bringing anything up. I think we were all a little like too overwhelmed with it to even talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, and it's one of those things where you can start to cycle yourself and shift the focus that almost if you can provide yourself a distraction, I'm assuming that was probably helpful, even if it was just 2.5 minutes.
Yeah.
So how did the second day go for competing? Was the pyramid ironed out?
Yes, for that group. And then we had another group have a similar issue.
Yeah.
We get on stage and the whole performance is perfect. Formations, lines, timing, everything. Like tumbling timing, which is something that sometimes I struggle on. I was just dead set. I was on every single count and I was like, okay, this is great. And my running tumbling is right before my pyramid. So it's the two things I worry about the most right next to each other. I'm like, okay, if that's great, this is going to be even better.
Yep.
And it was great. We got over halfway through the pyramid and we had all of a sudden out of the corner of my eye, I just see this melting motion and I'm like, okay, it's fine.
Yep.
Like we still have the rest of pyramid and dance. Like we can make up our score with performance.
Yep.
Even if we can't hit our routine. And we had a music issue in the beginning, which we were kind of like, oh, okay. And out of my 13 years of cheer, I've never like had that happen. Also found out it's a deduction, if you didn't know that. If your music doesn't start playing within the first 15 or 30 seconds of you being on the floor, it's like a whole point.
Really?
Yeah.
So that was on the score sheet? Mm-hmm. What was that called on the score sheet?
Music delay, I think, or performance delay.
Performance delay.
Something like that, yeah. I had to look it up. I was like, why did we get a whole point? That bobble was 0.5. Like
I have never heard of that.
Yeah.
That's wild.
I'm assuming it's new because I've been in this cheer industry forever.
I just found out about a major athlete fall.
Yeah. I didn't know what that was either.
I had never heard of that, but we were at one of our comps and a girl was filling in and did round off to full and her full face hit the full floor. Mm-hmm. And they called it a major athlete fall, a MAF. I've never heard of that before.
No.
We were talking to some of the coaches backstage and she was like, I've never heard of this before. I've been cheering for so long. I've never heard of this. And I'm like, listen, don't ask me. That's crazy. So it's over. Mm-hmm. You go back to the hotel. How are your nerves at this point?
So me and my mom, we stayed in the convention center because we were like, well, we have to be back here in like an hour and a half to meet before we go to awards.
Yeah.
And so we're just kind of walking around the different halls. I went and saw some of my old friends that I used to cheer with back home in Illinois. So we're like watching our old friends compete and like my mind is just completely blank. I'm just like, these are my friends. Okay. Awards. Those are the only two things on my mind.
Yep.
I am just blocking everything else out because if I don't, I'm just going to be sitting in a corner, just curled up in a ball doing nothing but cheerleading.
Yeah.
And so we waited and we went to our meet time for awards and you can tell everyone's a little bit like, okay, we already know what's going to happen. Like we watched the team that we compete against. They were amazing.
Yeah.
And we're like,
that was the only team you competed against?
Yeah, we only had one other team in our division.
Gosh.
There's not a lot. There's a handful of teams in the U.S. that are U18 level 2. And then there's a lot more that are out of the United States. And we didn't have any of them in our division.
Well, welcome to Summit. Summit, you'll probably see all of them.
Yeah.
That's wild. Okay, so you probably knew second place was coming, and that's what you guys got. Yeah. I mean, that's great, right?
Yeah.
NCA, big stage. Obviously, you try to go for the W, but with regards to everything that's going on, has any of your teammates started talking about this? Do you guys have like a group chat? Is there any sort of verbiage going back and forth about it yet?
So in the group chat, there wasn't, and there still hasn't been, but we had practice last night and we did this amazing like team bonding experience that our team mom came up with. She's amazing. She got a ball of yarn and she wrote down a couple questions. The first person, whoever had the ball, she would ask the question and they would answer it. And then they'd put the part of the string not around their neck, but they'd put it behind their head. And whoever had feelings about that question or wanted a different question, you would throw that ball to them with it while you're holding it.
Okay.
And it would go around the circle back and forth. And it was to show that even though we all have these different feelings and we all handle this differently, like some girls were laughing through it because they didn't know how to feel. Some of us were shocked into silence. Like we were crying, we were happy, we were confused, like every emotion, but we're all interconnected. So it was at the end, we had a picture. It's a big web of yarn just going in and around the circle of our teammates and our coaches and our team mom. It was really great. So that was the only time we really talked about it as a team.
Yeah.
But it made a lot of us feel more comfortable because we were by ourselves with the people who only knew what happened in our room.
Yep.
We weren't dealing with the opinions of everyone else or social media or coaches at our gym that weren't there or
right.
Because when people try to comfort you and they weren't there, it's kind of like, oh, thanks. Like it's hard to accept it because you want to tell them so much more, but it's hard to explain it when it's going on like interpersonally.
Exactly. If you can share that picture, I'd love to share it and we'll put it in this episode to show everybody what that looks like. That's amazing. Hats off to your team mom. That's incredible because we all know that there's so much drama wrapped around cheer, really drama with everything. And sometimes I feel like it's opportunities like this where you can go one way or another, right? You can either kind of share the truth and figure out what moving steps are moving forward and what's needed, or we can just continue to just make that snowball bigger and bigger and bigger into something that it never needed to be. You don't want to discount the traumatic experience that you guys all went through, but you also don't want to make this experience into something that it actually wasn't.
Yeah.
And so I think that's why there was so much value in your story and sharing this. So do you think, all right, couple hard questions. Do you think going into this now, you've been cheering for 13 years, was this comp feeling any different than any other comp you've been to?
Initially, no. When I got there, I was like, okay, it's a 2-day competition. Like we get a break day, but we're still going to practice. I just assumed we were going to practice. I was like, okay, like it really just felt like going to like cheer sport or going to something like that. Like, you know, it's big, but it doesn't feel like,
sure.
Other than the amount of people there, it doesn't feel like a huge competition.
Yeah.
There's not this big weight of pressure on you. You're just kind of like, I'm a little nervous because I have to compete again. Like, what if this goes wrong? Like, we know what we do in practice, but it was just the normal competition feeling. And then everyone was like, oh, I'm so scared. And I was like, kind of makes me scared. But since I've been in it for so long, I just kind of try to make myself the person who's calm and comfortable with it. So if they feed off of my energy, they'll be like, oh, if she's got it, then we all got it. Like, we don't have to worry if she's not scared.
Yeah, that's awesome. So nothing out of the ordinary, just feels just like any other day.
Yep.
When do you compete next?
We compete at Can-Am.
I know,
in Myrtle Beach.
I'm excited. I never thought I'd be excited to go to Can-Am until I went to Atlantic City for Spirit Cheer. And that, for some reason, Atlantic City makes Myrtle Beach seem like a palace. Yeah, I feel like I talk about Atlantic City every episode now because it was so disgusting. Sorry to anybody who lives in Atlantic City. That was the competition itself was good.
Yeah.
Like it was cool, but that place was just such a you-know-what hole. So it is what it is. But Myrtle Beach used to be like that to me. But now I'm like, I will go to Myrtle Beach 7 times over until I don't have to go there anymore. So, so it's one of those things where I'm excited, and it's a week later this year.
Yeah.
It's not St. Patrick's Day, so hopefully we'll get all the crazies out.
Yeah.
And the weather should be warmer. Hopefully we can go in the ocean. That would be great. We're going to actually have a lot of presence of Hit Squad there. So I'm hoping to get everybody kind of together.
Yeah.
I've been preaching. Have you ever been to Nacho Hippo?
No. Sounds great.
Gosh. Okay, so I was talking about this on the live last night. So a normal size plate of nachos, nobody can see this. A normal size plate of nachos is like what? Like this, right?
Yeah.
Okay, and it's probably like this high. Feeds probably like maybe a couple people, 3 people, whatever. I'm not exaggerating. At Nacho Hippo, like I'm trying to find something that even, I'm not even kidding. The plate is like this big, like this circle big. It will feed like 8 to 10 people. And it's stacked like this tall, and it has everything you could ever want on it, or they'll put it on the side.
Oh my gosh.
But it's off the beaten path. It's like right over there by the Myrtle Beach Airport.
Yeah.
So you're not like in the hustle and bustle of everything. And you just kind of like drive on over, plenty of parking, and you just sit. And for the adults, we have margaritas and more margaritas and all of that. So it's a good time. So I'll let you know about it, and we'll go. We usually go Friday night or Saturday night.
I know Saturday night, I'm so excited. We have team bonding.
Oh, that's cool.
And
at a
so
comp.
exciting. Yeah. I've never had that before.
Yeah, that's awesome.
And I was like,
what are you guys doing? Like a polar plunge?
we're going to, what's it called? We're going to the hangout.
Have you never been there before?
Nope.
Oh,
not a day in my life.
Do you want to hear a funny story?
Yes.
Yeah, it's really embarrassing, but pretty funny. So I came in second place of a dad dance-off contest last year there. Yeah, there are pictures. There are people who are probably traumatized from my performance last year. So the hangout is sick. We'll probably end up there. Maybe we'll end up there Saturday night and we'll go to Nacho Hippo Friday night. The hangout is massive. It's like, have you even seen pictures of it yet?
No.
Okay. So it's essentially like a massive airplane hangar.
Oh.
It's 3 floors tall, but it's not 3 floors tall. So they have like this catwalk or mezzanine where you can sit and eat up there. And then it's just wide open with like probably 50 or 60 foot ceilings. There's a huge bar. Then there's like a little center oval stage kind of thing. And there's picnic tables everywhere and you can just sit and hang out. And there's outdoor seating. There's an outdoor full blown stage.
Oh my gosh.
There's like gigantic Jenga and whatever Connect 4 and all that other fun stuff. But this is where like the Myrtle Beach gimmicky kind of thing comes into play. They do like this dad dance off. It's unfortunate that I had only had one beverage before it because I would have won the dang thing had I not. I made some questionable choices. I danced on some tables. I twerked for this poor lady. God, that poor woman. Now looking back, it's like, oh boy. She was probably in her 70s. Yeah, it was pretty crazy.
Oh my gosh.
I was dancing everywhere. I actually got yelled at because I did this like dance like this. I don't know what it's called. I'm not sure there's a name for it, but I did that straight across the bar. And they were yelling at me, telling me to get down because it was unsanitary for me to be standing on the bar. It was pretty wild. And again, I just want to preface this by saying I had literally had like one beer, maybe a half a beer. So it was not that I was intoxicated, but I lost to some guy who did like some sort of break dance or something. So I was pretty disappointed about that. But it was pretty cool.
That sounds so fun.
The hangout is awesome.
Yeah.
Short makes a long story short. The hangout is awesome. I will not probably be partaking in that this year. But I will probably be going around interviewing cheerleaders and stuff because I think that would be awesome. It's a really cool place.
Yeah.
That is my story about the hangout. You'll love that place there. It's like sand places outside and all that other fun stuff. It's really cool. Just make sure you make like a reservation or get there early. Yeah. And then they have a slide that goes from the 3rd floor all the way down.
Oh my gosh.
And it ends up in the gift shop.
Oh, cool.
Which is really great when you have young kids because they literally end up right there.
Yeah.
It's fantastic. No, I did not buy anything from the gift shop.
It's surprising.
Yeah, but then they do this thing where actually I'm not even going to tell you because you got to have the full experience. There's a couple more things that they do and it's pretty awesome. So Myrtle Beach, we've got that coming up. And then where do you guys compete again after Myrtle Beach?
Just Summit.
You're done after Myrtle.
Yeah.
So we go to One Up in Nashville.
Oh, okay.
Have you been there?
Nope.
Okay, so
wait.
At the Opryland?
No, nope, just kidding.
Apparently it's supposed to be almost as big as Cheer Sport. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Huge. So I'm excited about that. We'll have to be there for 3 days because Zoe's on a youth team and a junior team. And the youth teams, they decided we're going to perform on Friday and Saturday with awards on Saturday. And then our junior team is performing Saturday and Sunday with awards on Sunday. So
a lovely 4 performances for her.
But you know what? It's Nashville.
Yeah.
And I'm not ready for the season to be over yet. Like I just feel like we're in the groove of things. Yeah. But yeah, it's crazy. You guys had a small schedule this year, didn't you?
Yeah, we did Battle Under the Big Top in Atlanta. And then we went
so bad.
That's the one thing I do. That's the place I want to go to in Atlanta.
Yeah.
Cheer Sport's not one of my favorites.
Really?
I think it's my lack of winning at Cheer Sport that makes me not want to go.
That can kind of get you down after a while.
I think I've only been, 3 times and none of them were pleasant.
Really?
The performances, great. Lovely. The awards, no thank you.
Last year, Zoe's Y2 team out of 27 teams got 3rd place.
Yeah, not me.
We were the loudest people in that darn award ceremony, and everybody was looking at us like they got 3rd.
Yeah.
And we're like, oh, you. And
that's a win.
This year, her Y2 team was in 1st place after day 1, and then unfortunately we dropped to 5th on day 2. But risk versus reward.
Yeah.
But her J2 team got 5th, which was pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I've never placed that high.
I love cheer sport, especially now because I have like no more people in the industry and like more like just cheerleaders and coaches and choreo and people at varsity and stuff.
Yeah.
It's weird. Like I've now like, I'll see people, I'll be like, I just saw you last weekend backstage at so-and-so. And then I see them again. I'm like, hey, what's up? But that's been really fun. But I love cheer sport. So I'm really excited for One Up because it's another big one. And I'll see some people that I don't get to see, like my friends at Buffalo Envy and just some other cheer gyms and stuff. So Can-Am, and then we go to Summit.
Yep.
You excited for Summit?
I think so. I've only been one other time, and that was I was on a Youth 1 team, and I was like just the most excited little 10-year-old you could ever think of. I'm like, oh my God, I'm in Disney and I'm cheering.
Yeah.
These are my two favorite things. And I was like, okay, this is going to be great. So we go and we do day 1, and it is like just amazing. It's going perfectly.
Now, was your day 1 Saturday or was it a wild card Friday?
I think it was Wild Card Friday.
Yeah.
And so we hit everything, and I get off the floor, and I'm crying tears of joy. And everyone goes, why are you so excited? I was like, what do you mean? They were like, we dropped a prep. What? You just crushed this little 10-year-old's dreams.
Yeah.
And we were like, okay, well, maybe it was such a small, like, little score that we're still going to make it to day 2 because other teams in our division had dropped. One little bump outside of the top 5 or however many went to the next day. I was like, it's an extra day at Disney World, I guess.
I'm sure your coaches loved that
Right?
Perspective, Camryn.
I think mentally, I was like, I mean, I wish I could go to tomorrow. Then I was like, it's Disney World.
All
Why
right,
am
so
I not
what's
happy?
bigger, NCA or Summit?
Oh, I don't know. I think the amount of teams would be NCA, but that's because it's levels tiny 1 all the way through international 7, but Summit's only
J through
junior 1 through senior 5.
Yeah.
And then like J6.
Yeah.
But I feel like team wise NCA, but like feeling at the competition, like, oh my God, this is crazy, would be Summit.
Yeah, I'm so excited for Summit. So excited. And I'm hopefully going to Worlds as well. Hopefully going to be going down and filming with Atomic and Quantum out of ATA, Georgia.
Yeah, I just saw Quantum won.
They won.
It was great. They looked so good.
And then Atomic won the weekend before. It's so much fun watching that level, but it's also fun watching the levels, you know what I mean? Just all kind of coming up. So Can-Am, what do you think it's going to be like going to compete at a new comp? Is your mentality different going into these comps now?
I think I'm going to be a little more aware of what's going on, like paying attention to how people are acting and like just how kind of like just keeping an eye out for what's going on. I mean, it's a smaller competition. I've been to Myrtle before, just not for Can-Am. I've done some
You've never
other
done
ones.
Can-Am before?
I've done Spirit Sports, Battle at the Beach. Oh. That's the only one I've ever done.
Oh, Can-Am. Where are you guys staying?
I think we're staying at a hotel on the beach. I think it's like 10 minutes from the convention center.
Yeah, we're staying at this place because I know how like what's it called? The stay to play or the whatever dumb thing that is. They always fill up, so they always automatically give you, I almost said inventions, but exemptions.
Yeah.
We're staying at this place. It's like the Spring Hill Suites, I think. Like if you were to be looking at the venue and you just walk straight past that car, well, you don't know what I'm talking about. There's usually a car show that weekend, but we're going to be, but I know you love cars.
So excited.
It's probably the weekend before. It's usually St. Patrick's Day weekend, but it's like one of the biggest classic car shows on the East Coast. Like it's massive. You would walk by that and then you would go to, you'd be right there on the beach at the hotel.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's insane.
We try to stay close because, you just want to not be really cruising around Myrtle Beach at all hours of the night.
Right.
So we go to Can-Am, we come home Sunday, and then we're gone Wednesday to Nashville.
Oh my gosh.
Then we come back, we got 2 weeks off, then we go to Regional Summit in Atlanta, which it's not bad.
No.
Because, have you been Regional Summit?
No, I did it recording when it was COVID. That was when I did Regional Summit. So I recorded in my gym.
Yeah. Yep. So Regional Summit, and then we will, we'll come back, we'll have a couple weeks, and then it's off to Summit. We're ready to rock and roll.
I can't wait to have a couple weeks off of competing.
Yeah.
Just practice. Like I know we change up our schedule a little bit because we have, instead of having 3 days of practice, like a lot of the teams at our gym, we added an extended hour. So Sundays we have 3 hours and Tuesdays we have 2 hours. Yeah. And everyone else is like an hour and a half and 2 hours. So we're going to their normal schedule when we go into April. So every week we have 3 practices, Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. And I don't think I'm mentally ready. I don't think I could compete.
All in a row too.
Yep. So it's going to be Sundays 11 to 1, and then Mondays 7:30 to 9, and Tuesdays 7 to 9, I think.
Yeah.
Or 7:30 to 9, but I couldn't imagine competing on those weekends. Like right before I go Monday, Tuesday practice, I couldn't.
Zoe, we competed this weekend at Encore, and she competed with youth. We were done by like 10:45, 11, I think. And then we had to go to the gym to go to her J2 practice.
Oh my gosh.
I was telling the coach of the Y2, we were walking out, and I was like, Sherry, you should have practice. You should make them come to practice for the Y2 kids. Like, just make them come to practice. That would be so funny. She's like, I actually joked with a couple of them, and the parents kind of looked at me like, I'm like, you should make them. That's what it takes sometimes. You know what I mean? Like, just come to practice. Like, let's keep it going. Well, that's wild. I don't envy your position. I'm glad that you're safe. I'm glad all your teammates are safe. And from what I'm hearing, most of the people are safe. Yeah, it's going to be interesting. So, obviously the big questions that are going around are, number one, should varsity have canceled Sunday? What are your thoughts? You're in charge. You're in charge of that decision. What would you have done?
I think personally I would have canceled it out of the safety of everyone who's enrolled in varsity. Like, I would want them to like just go home and be with their families and everything. And I think that'd just be better than, oh, well, here, you can decide if you want to go. Because that was what it was, is as a program, you can decide to pull your teams or to keep them in, or some teams can go home. They put it as like a team thing, like you make a vote. I feel not having a choice was better because you didn't have to contemplate, I could be home safe in my bed, or I can be ready to persevere through this and just compete and just like know that I can get through anything. Yeah. So I think having a choice would have made that a lot harder to compete on Sunday. Yeah. But overall, I think it was better that we didn't have a choice as our team. Yeah. Because we knew that now we can do anything. Yeah. If we have something go on the day before, like a girl breaks her leg, and we know we can go right back on the floor and just compete like nothing happened. Okay, so you say, let's just walk through this. So you cancel Sunday. Everybody spent all that money, all that time, all that energy coming to NCA. How do you handle that? Like, how do you? I would probably say that if they came to day one and competed, so if they competed Friday or they competed early morning Saturday, they can be refunded their second day. Yep. But obviously if you competed on Saturday, then you were there, so that's kind of already my money. Yeah. But if you didn't compete, then you would just get everything back that you paid, because it was expensive to get in. I don't actually know what it was, but was it a lot? Too much for a cheer competition. Atlantic City was $92 a person in Atlantic City. Yeah, that's $87 for a 2-day pass. So thankful I get coaches passes now. I don't pay for any comps. It's so awesome. Thanks, Corey. Yeah, I've seen wild things like everybody deserved a jacket. What are your thoughts on that? That I definitely think if you were someone that was in the building and you had to sit through the silence and the screaming and all of the things, that you should have either a gold medal or a jacket or something that says, I survived. I don't know if you know the I Survived book series, that font saying I survived and then NCA 2025. Yeah. I just think that a jacket would have been great for some of like the younger kids who had to go through that, because there were some mini teams that were stuck in the building, and I'm like, they deserve anything except to be in that building. Yeah. Like they need a jacket, they need a medal, they need a ginormous trophy that's twice the size of them, like anything except for being stuck in a room, not knowing what's going on. Yeah. So when you competed on Sunday, could you tell that a lot of programs pulled out or no? So definitely you could tell that there was a lot less teams performing because the schedule changed by hours. Like usually it's like, oh, maybe it's just like 1 hour is kind of shortened, like you move up 30 minutes. Yep. We moved up an hour and a half, and there were other teams, like literally there were teams that were supposed to compete at 9 and they competed at 7. Like they were supposed to compete at night and they just moved all the way up, and I'm like, that's insane. And you could tell the energy in a lot of the halls was really off. Yeah. Like when we were performing, obviously our parents were great. Like they were so loud, our coaches, but the people that are sitting in the back, you're just like, you can feel them like staring, just like they know that they're looking around for something except for looking at the team. Like it was just so heavy in the arenas. Gosh. So do you think that moving forward, things should change at competitions? Do you think that there's opportunity to make people feel a little bit more safer? Yeah, I think that So the only thing they really did on Sunday was put up some signs to say, don't bring in guns. Like, don't do this. That's not safe. And then the sign literally says, do not bring in firearms. Okay.
In a state that is already an open carry state.
Yes.
I mean, that's a very gun present state.
Yes. And so then they had a couple other security guards around, and there was a few more police, but it was really more security guards that were more in there. I feel like going into next year, with it being in Houston, I think that they should know, since this happened this year, it can obviously happen again. No matter, like, there's going to be that 1% chance now that it's just a little bit higher of a chance that it'll happen. I think they should prepare for that with more police presence, more like real security that isn't, I saw some teenagers as security guards in that building going into warm-ups. Like, that is so unsettling. He looked like he was a little bit younger than me.
So realistically, though, there was not a overwhelming difference between Friday, Saturday to Sunday.
No.
What I don't want to say is funny, because I don't think it's funny, but it's ironic, is that same weekend we were at Encore, I was just saying, when we went through Cabarrus Arena, or Cabarrus, whatever it is, Convention Arena, metal detectors, Cabarrus. I also think it was kind of interesting that next door to the convention center, you know where this is headed, they were having a gun show. It's
there every year. It's so funny.
There is literally a wall in warm-ups that is just separating the two. And I'm just, there are certain things now that make me think, perfect example, Atlantic City, all of the state of plays, we're getting like really controversial in this episode now. All the state of plays were at casinos. All the casinos up there, you can smoke cigarettes in. Gambling. There are what I like to call ladies of the night roaming around. Like, these are not things that I want to take my underage cheerleader, who is typically dressed in a short skirt and a sports bra, in majority of the time. Like, that's her uniform. Okay, so what are we doing here? And then we show up to Encore and we see a gun show. And then we see, like, you're not going to be able to prevent every bad thing from happening, right? And I'm here to tell you that putting up a sign that says, please don't bring your firearm, is not going to prohibit the person who is already bringing their firearm. They are not listening to the rules. They are bringing them regardless. So I was very curious to see your perception and your opinion and your view. Was there any sort of increase? Because that's been a huge thing flying around. Was there more presence? Was there not more presence? Was this the polls dropping? Was this? And I don't think, unless you were there and unless you physically saw that actual action, I've heard there was a fight. I've seen a video that there was a fight. Unless you actually saw that, I think it's unfair for people to speculate. Don't you agree? I think you can only say the experience that you had. So I hope that this episode brought people some comfort. I hope, there are teammates on your team that kind of look back and are starting to reflect and process this and realize how amazing they had it, having someone like yourself stepping up to the plate, being scared in that moment, but also realizing, hey, I have a role here that I can play. And it helped kind of combat your fear to be able to help the littles.
Yeah.
I think that's amazing. I think it's really honorable of you. Great work on all the dads and coaches for kind of just coming into action. Nobody's prepared for something like this at a cheer comp. So I think it's really great. And I hope that the people who experience this in the same manner that you did, and greater or less than, I hope that they all understand that they've got options to be able to seek help and to be able to talk this through and to be able to process this on their own time. And just don't give up the good fight of cheer. Yeah. It's so hard that just one more negative thing has been attached to cheer. And of course, it's unfortunate. So hopefully everybody feels a little bit more comfort after talking today. So I really appreciate you coming on and just talking about your experience. We'll see each other in Can-Am and we'll see each other at Summit, and then cheer's going to be over.
It's insane.
And then we go to tryouts again.
2 weeks after Summit.
So we're 3, I think.
I don't remember how long
I think
it is. It's a very short
window. We're 2 or 3, yeah. And then we start all over again.
Yep.
It's awesome. Now, how many more years do you have left of cheer? 2, 3?
2.
And you super senior?
So technically I'll be 17 in my senior year. So I'll still have a year of eligibility after that for my freshman year of college.
Yeah.
If I'll use it, I'm not sure. That'll depend if I cheer in college or not.
Yeah.
because I probably wouldn't be able to do all of those things at once. I think I'll be coaching maybe like tumbling classes while I'm in college, but probably not cheering.
Yeah.
So we'll see if I use my extra year or not, or what I do with it. But
Super senior year.
oh yeah,
Super cool.
Yeah.
I always like that. Like when people are like, yeah, I'm a super senior. I'm like, oh, you're lucky you can cheer one more extra year. Like that's super awesome. Well, Camryn, thank you. Thanks for your time.
Yeah.
And we'll see each other in Can-Am. Good luck the rest of the season at Summit.
Thank you.
We'll be rooting you on.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. That's been another episode of Hit Season. So thankful we got to chat with Camryn, a CA Charlotte cheerleader on a U18 level 2 team. That was her experience at NCA. We've heard all of the different things going on. We've seen all of the Facebook groups. We've heard everybody's opinions and experiences. Do what you will with them. The best thing that I can say, though, is if you have experienced anything while being at NCA or even being a family member with someone at NCA and you're far away, make sure you spend the time to process that. Make sure you get the help if you need any. There's tons of people that would be willing to listen and to chat with you. Don't downplay it. If it was traumatic for you, then you definitely need to go through your processing. This has been a really great episode. I enjoyed this episode in ways that hopefully this brings light to just one experience out of thousands of experiences at NCA. This was just one of them to understand what that was like. And so hopefully it can bring some light to that situation. All I can recommend is just don't contribute to any of the rumor mills. If you weren't there, you don't necessarily have a leg to stand on. Just let the people who are there process what they're processing and just be there to help them. But this is another episode of Hit Season. We'll see you next week. We've got a great episode coming up. I wish everybody the best of luck as their seasons are coming out and we are headed to end of year celebrations. And until then, we'll see you on the mat. See ya.